PowerPoint. So today's workshop is gonna go over 3 topics. The first one is to understand some basic principles of ABA. The second part, we're gonna go over some strategies like reinforcement, extinctions, and prompting techniques that's gonna help you in your sessions. And the third one, we're gonna talk about data collections, writing session notes, and how to interpret data to make decisions in our interventions. And does anyone know what is ABA? Anyone want to give it a shot? If not, it's okay, because when I first started using ABA as strategies, I actually did not have any idea about ABA. I did not quite comprehend the whole terms. So ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. It is a field that helps to change behaviors, and it's a science. And there are actually many other fields, many other behaviorisms, other types of science and practice like OT, PT, and speech. And what sets us apart and why is ABA very important, and why we're choosing ABA as a strategies, because ABA is the only evidence-based and data-driven practice that shows that it's helping with children that has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder and developmental delays. And that's why we're using ABA. And in my years of practice, when I have more experience, I really start to understand some key components of ABA that will help you to teach. So the first one is apply, right? Apply behavior analysis. So the first one, apply, what is it? So apply is when you choose those socially significant goals or targets for the client that will improve their quality of life, right? So for example, I don't teach a student based on what I want. I teach a student based on what is gonna be the most beneficial for him, right? So I'm going to give an example. If I'm going to teach a student puzzle, right? Let's talk about puzzles. We don't choose to teach puzzle because other kids, they're playing with puzzles, or, oh, I have this set of puzzle, I'm just going to use it as my materials, right? No, we can use puzzle as a tool to teach functional communication, right? You can teach them to request puzzle pieces. You can teach them to label or identify the picture on the puzzle. That is going to help them with their communication, with their language. We can also use puzzle to teach them joint attentions, attending skills, because those skills, it's a pivotal behavior. It's like a key that it's going to help the student to open the new door to get into more learning opportunities, right? So when I choose those goals, they apply, they're helping the student. And also ABA, we have concept systems, right? We have our behavior principles, we have reinforcement, punishment, extinction, and we use those. We do not use pseudoscience like horse therapists, and we should not make those recommendations during our sessions. So make sure that we're not, hear something from a tabloid or something that you come across in social media and you make those recommendations to the parents, right? We need the evidence-based strategies that is shown in the research with the data. And the third one is generalization. We need to train our student to learn a skill, and that skill has to be able to sustain and generalize across with different people, right? The parents, the teachers at school, the caregivers. They can't just respond so well with us as a therapist. They have to respond with everyone else in their daily livings. A child can behave very well with you in your ABA sessions, but if The moment that they with their parent and they start, having a lot of problem behavior, then we have to jump in there and help the parent to be on the same page, right? Also, we have to train them to learn the skill across different materials, right? A lot of students, if they learn ball, right, they don't know that basketball, football, soccer ball, they are also ball. So we have to give them the exposures and purposely help them to generalize the same skill across different materials and also across different settings, right? They can't just do very well on the tabletop. They have to also be able to perform the skill that you train them on the floor, at school, in the community, like the zoo, the library, etc. So we have to help them to generalize the skill. And I have 4 goals, right? As a practitioner, there are 4 goals that I want you to keep in mind when you work with the student and you select your targets, right? If your sessions, your lesson plan, and your goal can cover these 4 components, then you are pretty much doing a great job and you are maximizing the benefits of early interventions and ABA, right? So they are communication, toleration, compliance, play skills, and probably a little bit friendship skills if it's possible. So communications, right? How many of our students, they don't even have 5 words to make requests spontaneously and independently? How many of our students cannot follow directions, even very simple one-step directions? They need you to repeat over and over and give them like a lot of cues. How many of our students do not know to say yes or no, right? How many students don't even answer your questions, right? It's always like silent. And that's why they get the services, because they have the significant delay in their communication, meaning that receptive and expressive, right? Also, toleration. How many of students, they cannot tolerate waiting, right? You record your sessions, can they wait, right? How many of them, they can't even tolerate waiting? Are they grabbing your toys constantly? Are they touching all your materials before you can even deliver a instruction or a verbal direction, right? How many of our students are crying if we cannot deliver what they want within a second, right? That's toleration. We have to teach them to tolerate waiting, tolerate accepting no, etc. So they have to tolerate. We're teaching them. They don't have those skills. Compliance, right? You probably know that they turn their face away. They do their own thing, right? How many of them, even if they completely can comprehend your direction, they know what you want, but still they need like maximize prompts, like I say, repetitions, gesture cues, hand over hand, right? You have to grab him back. That's compliance. Why are they not responding to me? Or why are they not responding to me quicker, faster, or better, right? That's what we want ultimately in our sessions. And also the last one is play skill, right? They're little kids and they are always playing, right? So we want to teach them play skills with toys. That's what their peers are doing. So we want to teach functional play skills, right? Knowing the function of that toy. A car is for pushing, a ball is for flowing, the blocks are for stacking, the puzzles are for matching, right? They're not for throwing away, they're not for like spinning around, right? We have to teach the function of that object. Reciprocal play, right? We play back and forth. We roll a ball back to the therapist, we roll it back. So, you have that engage in that reciprocal play. Pretend play, right? Many of them don't even have pretend play and cannot be expand on that play. So we're working on the play skills. And some teachers have questions regarding to self-stimulation behaviors. Some teachers say that, oh, should I stop a child if he's flapping his hands or fidgeting? My answer is no. We don't have to, because that's how their brain function. We all do that little self-stimulation behavior. Like when I'm talking to you, I might spin my chair. When you listening to me, you might curl your hair. We all do this little thing to ease our stress. And so do our students. But we can also look at it as this behavior are non-functional behaviors, right? You can explain that to the parents too if they have that kind of concern. Non-functional behavior are like there's a car and the kid will spin on it, right? That spinning, that stimulation. A functional behavior will be like, oh, pushing the car and crashing the blocks with the car and using it as a pretend play. So for us to decrease that non-functional skill, right? You want to decrease that self-stimulation behavior. We have to increase the functional skills, right? Teach them play. That's what their peers are doing. That's what the typical developing kids at this age are doing. They're all playing. So the more that you teach them to play, the less they're going to engage on doing self-stimulation behaviors, right? Does anyone have any questions before I do another poll? Okay, all right, so we're gonna do the second poll. Okay, can you see it? Good, all right, so I'm gonna give 30 seconds for everyone to participate. Click your answer. Right. All right, so some of you have some knowledge about DAISY. That's great. That's the developmental assessment of young children. Some of you have the experience with health checklist. Great. That's another one that we use very often in early childhood. VB map, APOS. And some of you don't have or have not used any of them. That's all right. So my next workshop, it's gonna cover some assessment trainings and how to select some appropriate targets based on the assessments. So that's gonna be on in November. Right, back to our PowerPoint. All right. Give me 1 second. Let's see. All right. So sometimes our students are so bright, so smart, and I have students that can do additions at 2 years old, read and write at 3 years old. And some parents might think that, hey, my kid is so smart, so bright. They know so much, and even better than their peers. Why do I still need services? And sometimes it's the complete opposite. The child is significant delay in many, many areas. And here is a little bit guideline between typical and atypical children by the New York State Department of Health. And I hope that will help you to have a clear picture of understanding your student's delay. So a typical child at 15 months, they know to make eye contact. They reaches to anticipate being picked up, right? If you want to pick them up, they will open the arm and they reach for it. They have joint attentions. Joint attention is when you guys are sharing something. So before he can talk, he will do something like, right? He want to show you something. He's making that connection with you. They have social imitations. They're imitating you, like even like waving bye-bye. That's imitation, right? Responding to name. Make simple verbal requests. Like they might say wawa for water, and they say mama and dada. That's 15-month-old, typical 15-month-old child can do. At 18 months, they can point to their body parts. They speak some words. They have pretend play. They point out objects when you ask them. They respond when you point out objects. Again, that's joint attentions. When you're reading with a child, right? And you point at the picture like, oh, this is a car, this is a ball. He will visually follow you because he's having that joint attention with you to share something together. That's a social skill, right? If they don't have it, that's a red flag. At 24 months, a child should have all the 18-month skills plus using two-word phrases. They imitating doing houseworks. They show interest in other children. So that's typical developing kids. Atypical developing kids, they have delay or absence of spoken language. They lack of pretend play. They lack of interest in peers. They lack of turn taking. They have impaired nonverbal communication. So nonverbal communications are like you are nodding for yes, you're turning your head for no, you're pointing, right? You're waving bye-bye, and doing like this, oh, no, uh-oh, I don't have it anymore, right? Even though I'm not speaking, you still understand my gestures. So they don't have that. Again, pointing at object, that's another one. They're not making eye contact. They're not initiating play. So they don't carry a toy and give it to you to invite you to play with him, right? They're not initiating social interactions. And they have repetitive hand movement like hand flapping or other type of restricted or repetitive behaviors like lining up objects, spinning toys. Unusual reaction to sensory stimulus. They might be afraid of certain textures. They might be afraid of certain noises. And that's all some unusual sensory response. Right. So right now we finished the first part of the workshop. We talked a little bit about the principles of ABA, right? What should we work? How do we select the four components, the four goals that I've given you? We talked a little bit about the kids' developmental milestones, and I hope that will help you to have a picture of ABA and early intervention. And the next part, we're gonna go into 3 important strategies that you can use right away when you do your sessions tomorrow. So they are reinforcement, extinction, and prompting. So the first one, I will talk about positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is a very powerful tool in increasing behavior. And when we're using positive reinforcement, we are adding something in the environment, right? So that behavior will increase. For example, we can add attention, right? We're looking at the kid, we're playing with them. We can add toys, we give him the toys, snack, or leisure activities. And here are a few things that I want you to keep in mind when you're using positive reinforcement. So number 1, think about the connection between the reinforcer and the response effort. Just the same way that you think about your paycheck and your work, right? If your workload is easy, peasy, small, you probably will get a smaller paycheck. But if your workload is heavy, hard, big, you will expect a bigger paycheck, or else you're going to throw a fist. So when you work with your student, the same way, easy work, little reinforcers, right? Hard work, big work, give them a lot of reinforcers. And also keep that in mind that something hard for the child does not mean that it's hard for you, right? If you think that that's so easy, just match the puzzle. Why is it so hard for you? It's probably not the same way how the kids process and how he can do it, right? So keep that in mind. Number 2, we have to reinforce immediately. Research shows that if you reinforce a child after 30 seconds or more, then the reinforcer will not be able to affect the target behavior anymore. So do it as quick as you can, right? Keep it within 3 seconds. If you can do it within 1 second, great job. All right. Don't reinforce the kid after 1 minute. It's not going to work. He's going to forget what he did. All right. Number 3, pair the tangible, edible, so the toys and the snack, with social reinforcers, because they are kids that have social delays. They have the deficits in their social skills. So very often they do not respond well to the social reinforcers, like the verbal phrases, right? Clapping, giving a high five, tapping on the back, right? How many of them don't even give you a high five, right? Do you have those students? They don't care? Yeah, I do. Okay, so, and the kids, they cannot rely on edibles, the snack and the toys forever, because when they go to school or when they go to work, no one is going to give them those rewards. So we have to pair them and let them be trained on the social reinforcers, right? To fade out those tangibles and edibles eventually. And number 4, I want you to know about your reinforcement schedule. Reinforcement schedule. When will I use the thinner schedule? When will I use the thicker schedule, right? If I am teaching a new skill, right? Something new to the child, I will use a very dense schedule. So 1 reinforcers for 1 correct response. So that will help the kid to build that skill. And later on, when you feel like the kid has acquired the skill, then I will start to thin the schedules, right? You have 2 or 3 correct response, I will give you 1 reinforcers. So now the kid has to learn to tolerate a little bit more work, right? And sometimes we reinforce a kid maybe every 3 correct response, every 5 correct response. We don't want the kid to know when he's gonna get reinforced. And the reason why I'm doing that, because very often a child will have, they don't perform as well, and they might have problem behavior if they know that when they're going to get reinforced. So once the student have acquired the skill, you will start to mixing the reinforcement schedule to get a better performance and better response. And number 5, use a preference reinforcement to know your students' preference and probably reinforcers, because that's very important. We need to know what is valuable for the kid, right? Ice cream might be valuable for me, but it might not be your reinforcers. It might not be valuable for you. So I will give you an example in how to do a preference reinforcement that you will quickly identify what your students' preference and potentially reinforcers to help you to gain instructional control. Again, your student at this age with their delays and disability, they're not going to work for free. And you are probably not their reinforcers yet, because if they respond very well with a person, a teacher, their parent, then they don't need the services, right? So we're gonna use that data sheets to identify something that will be valuable for the student to gain instructional control. And everyone attend the workshop, I will email you that the data sheets that I present today. And here is an example of using that. So for you to do the preference assessment, you will present the student a few items each time. So, and then you're gonna mark down the sequence of what your student choose. And the next round, you will alternate the position of the items, right? Because sometimes you tend to grab something on the left, or they tend to grab something on the right. So you alternate the position. And once you write down the sequence, then you can have the ranking of the item, right? So number 1 is the child's favorite, and it's going to be the most effective reinforcer. It's going to be the strongest reinforcers for that period of time. And I want you to keep in mind that when you don't mix food and snack together when you do the preference assessment, because children tend to pick food over toys, right? So if you want to do the assessment, do one just the snack, the food, and do one just twice. All right. Do you have any questions that you want to ask regarding to the preference assessment? Anyone? We good? All right. And feel free to contact me or reach out to me if you have any questions or you want me to help you to use that preference assessment. Okay. Oh, here's an exercise that I want you to do. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week when you do your sessions, right? There are 4 exercises I want you to do. The first one, identify a target behavior that you want to reinforce. Something like maybe sitting, right? Or responding when I say, come here. Or even giving me a high five if you want to reinforce that. Just make sure that they are observable, measurable, and clearly defined. So choosing something like, I want Johnny to play with a ball happily will not be a great target behavior because we cannot define happy, right? We cannot measure happy. So you can say something like, Johnny will be able to throw the ball in the hook, right? That will be more appropriate and we can measure, right? In 10 trial, how many trial Johnny can throw the ball in the hook, right? How many opportunity that I given he can perform that response. So now you can see the data in it. Exercise 2, choose reinforcers. All right, and use that preference assessment form that I'm gonna email you, and then determine what reinforcers should be most effective for each behaviors. Again, little work, easy direction. If the kid already know that skill, you're probably gonna give him the little reinforcers. But if it's something new, something hard, give him the most valuable reinforcers, right? That's instructional control. Exercise 3, create a reinforcement schedule. Decide what you're gonna use, right? Are you gonna train a new skill? Are you training a quiet skill, but you want it to be if you want the response to be better, right? So use that, choose your reinforcement schedule. And exercise 4, implement and monitor, right? You put the reinforcement plan into actions and you track the progress. Is it working the way that I want? If I thin the schedule too fast, right? If I feel like, oh, the kid is doing so great, let me just not give him a reinforcers after he finished the whole set of puzzle, and then he give you problem behaviors, right? Then he start throwing temper tantrum because he didn't feel like he's getting enough of reinforcers. Then I probably will go back to give him more reinforcers, right? Give him back that a little bit denser schedules, so to avoid problem behaviors. And nothing is wrong with giving too much reinforcers. Very often as teachers, we do not give enough of reinforcers. So keep that in mind. And does anyone have questions regarding to reinforcement, positive reinforcement before I talk about our next topic? Thumbs up. Okay, great. The next one is extinction. So extinction occurs when you withhold reinforcement for a specific behavior, resulting in a reduction or elimination of that behavior. So when using extinction, you want to make sure that you are also simultaneously teaching or reinforcing an alternative behavior. So for example, if a child is crying for attentions, right, you will ignore by not giving eye contact to the child, but also teach the child to use alternate behaviors like tapping on your shoulder, right, saying excuse me, to request the attention properly. And please also know that extinction should not be used for behavior that cause harm to oneself or others, right? With serious self-injury behavior, we do not use extinction because, that for safety reasons. And when you're running extinctions, we are not ignoring the child. We are ignoring the problem behavior. So you are still monitoring that student, right? So when I use extinction procedures for attention-seeking behaviors, I usually turn my face away, I block my eye contacts, I don't respond to the student, I don't call his name. But I still keep my corner eyes, right, looking at the student before him noticing. Because first, I want to make sure that he's safe. And second, I want to catch that opportunity when the child can be quiet and calm for 2 or 3 seconds before I give back my attention to him, because that's what he wants. And I want to teach him that, hey, that's what I want, right? When you're calm and quiet, then I will attend to you again, right? That's how I use extinction. And the next one, we will talk about prompting and fading techniques. So prompting is simply you are providing assistance and support to help the child to learn the skill. So I'm going to show you a video about most to least prompt.
What's happening?
Oh, sorry.
What's happening?
Still not the same one.
For the first few. For the first few days, we're going to use hand-over-hand prompting to teach Greg how to open the microwave. Once he has shown that he can consistently open the microwave with hand-over-hand prompting, we'll move to a partial physical prompt.
So the first one is hand over hand, full physical prompt, right? You just be his ghost and you just grab him and you teach him.
Once he has shown mastery with that, we will move on to a model prompt. Once he's shown that he can open the microwave consistently with a model prompt, we'll move on to a gesture prompt. And then we'll try to fade out the gesture prompt so that he does it independently.
Great job, Greg. Here's your basketball.
For the first few days.
Okay, so that's from the most to
What's
least.
this?
Sorry.
Dad.
So that's from most prompt to least prompt, right? So I want you to start practicing using full physical prompt first, because for the student at this age, they need the full prompt most of the time to start something. Unless you baseline it and the kid have very great skills, then you don't need to give him the full prompt, right? Full prompt is just giving hand over hand support, right? You're being his ghost. You actually go behind him and you teach him to do that, the stuff that you want him to do. Like for example, puzzle again, right? You grab his hand, you help him to match the puzzle. That's a full physical prompt. Once he can do that and he's not resistant to your full physical prompt anymore, then you fade it to partial physical prompt. So you might hold his wrist and you help him to match the puzzle. And once he can do that, then you're gonna move on to probably giving gestural prompt and then maybe verbal prompt, and eventually the kid should do it independently, and that's our goal. And a student cannot rely on prompts forever, so we also need to learn to fade our prompt. So let's watch a video about prompt fading.
It's gonna be your turn. All right, sort.
She's not doing it, so now the teacher gives her a full prompt.
Sort.
Right, full assistant, full physical assistant, hand over hand.
Sort.
Now she's fading, partial physical prompt.
Sort. 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 Oh. Great job, Audrey.
Yay, right?
You did it. You're sorting them.
Right. So fading was successful, right? She's doing it by herself now. That's what we want. Right. And visual supports. Let's look at the visual supports.
Good job.
So in this video, the therapist was using visuals, pictures to help the student, because very often our student cannot comprehend directions, verbal directions very well. So we can use visuals, pictures to help them. The last one is errorless teaching.
Ben, good job.
Oh, sorry. Let's start over.
What's this? Bed. Ben, good job.
Right, that's easy. You say, what is this? Bad. And the student repeat bad. So in that situation, a student cannot make an error. Why are we using errorless teaching? Because if a student make an error, they're gonna make that error 1,000 more times. And that's gonna be very hard for you to correct that. So do the baseline, see what your student knows, what your student do not know, and then try to use that errorless teaching. Do not let them make an error to build up that confidence in themselves. All right, so that's prompting and fading techniques. Does anyone have any questions regarding to that? Nope. Okay. Great. All right. So now we're going to talk about the 4 functions of behavior. So every behavior serves a function, right? There are 4 functions of behavior. The first one is sensory. So the behavior, it's helping a person to seek some sensory experience, and that experience make the student feel good. And the second one is escape behavior. The function is serving for a child or person to remove undesired activity or interaction, right? I don't want something. I just want to escape from it. So escape behavior. And attention-seeking behavior. So the behavior is helping the child to get access to people or interaction. So I want some attention from people, tangible. So that behavior is helping the student to get access to an item or activities, right? If I want some snack, then, that behavior is helping me. That behavior is helping me to get what I want. That will be something that I can eat, something that I can play with, right? So these are the 4 functions of the behavior. Let's try to do another poll to see if you can identify the function of the behavior. Can you all see that? Thumbs up. Okay, all right, I'm gonna give 30 seconds for everyone to choose your answer. All right, we good. All right, I'm gonna end the poll. Wait, we're getting more answers. Wait, hold on. Okay, we all done. We all done? Okay. Wait, I'm getting more answers. All right, 30 seconds is up. I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share the results. So we have different answers. All right, so let's read the question. During this session, Jaden grabbed Miss Miller's sensory toy from her hand. He immediately started to cry when Miss Miller did not respond to him. Please identify the function of Jaden's behavior. And the correct answer is tangible. He's crying and he's grabbing because he wants that toy, right? It's a little bit confusing because it's sensory toy. So it's a little bit confusing because Miss Miller did not respond to him. But what Jaden really wants is to get that toy from Miss Miller, right? So you see that it's really confusing sometimes to identify the behavior. And how can we better understand the behavior? How can we know and track the pattern of the behavior, right? It's confusing. Sometimes it's this, sometimes it looks like that. So the next topic, I'm going to talk about collecting behavior data, which going to give you a very clear picture to decide what's the function of the behavior, because we have to give the correct treatment to that behavior to get what we want, right? We have to give the correct intervention. So if you did not choose the correct answer, that's okay.
I have a question, Sansan.
Yes.
So when you say Miss Miller did not respond, that means she let the child take the toy, or she didn't let the child take the toy away?
She did not let the child take the toy.
Ah, okay, okay.
She did not respond. And does Jaden has another way to respond? Like, Jaden does not have another way to make that request, right? All he knows is crying. He's crying because he did not get the toy.
Okay, I misunderstood the question because I thought that the boy took the toy away and the teacher didn't say anything. So that's why I saw that the boy got upset because the teacher ignored him. So if the teacher did not give him the toy, then he started to cry. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And what do you think is the correct intervention for Miss Miller? What should she do if that's the case? If that function is to get something that he wants to get that tangible, he wants to get that toy.
Prompt him to use his words if he can speak. If not, use his device to request.
That's correct, right? So we're going to teach him functional communication. We want to help him to make requests. So say fuzzy ball or squishy ball, say ball, right? Use the picture, show me what you want, use the device, press the button to let me know. So next time, we don't use problem behavior to communicate, right? Because we don't know why you're crying. Just tell me the ball or something, right? That's functional. That's apply. That's going to help the kid to know that I can use my word to make requests, which is easier than throwing temper tantrums to make requests, right? Okay. And yep. So now we're going to talk about ABC data collection, and how to make decisions in our intervention. All right, so this is a ABC data collection, and A stands for antecedent, B stands for behavior, and C stands for consequence. So on your left-hand side, these are the antecedent events. So these are something that happened right before the behavior, right? So something like give a demand at table, give a demand in the natural learning environment. When a child wants something that he can have, right? Preferred activity, interrupt, told no on a request, or transitioning. Those are something that happen right before the behavior. So behavior in the middle, something that you're probably more familiar with because you can see it and you can measure it, right? Whining, crying, scratching, proper disruption, flopping, kicking, hurting others, hurting himself. Those are all behaviors. the one that on your right-hand side, on the right side, are the consequence. So consequence are our response, our intervention, something that is gonna change that behavior in the future, something that is gonna either increase or decrease or not even do anything to the behavior, right? So that's very important, and we want to take a look at that, right? A consequence might be something like extinction with guided compliance. Again, right? Extinction, we talk about it, that's intervention. Extinction, guided to a safe area for safety. Can't and man procedures. Now are you teaching a child to make requests, right? Without problem behavior. Redirection, right? Ignore problem behavior if it's a attention-seeking behavior, right? Etc. And with that, collecting the ABC data on a daily basis, right? We have to summarize it. And the reason why we're going to use the summary data sheets, because we cannot work on every behaviors at once. We just don't have so much time. We just don't have so much resources. So for using that summary data sheets, we can identify one target behavior that you want to work on with the student. And we're going to identify a behavior that with the most frequency, duration, and intensity, because that's the behavior that preventing the student in learning, right? We want the student to learn, but if he keep throwing temper tantrums and wasting time in crying, screaming, or other type of behavior, it's actually preventing him to learn, because we know that kids have so much potentials and we want to increase and let them maximize their potential. So we have to work smart too. So here's a summary data sheet. It's going to help you to identify the behavior. So for example, if you have if you selected giving a demand, that's a behavior because the kid is escaping from the behavior, then we're going to work on escaping, right? We're going to keep the demand on. We're going to give redirections. If that behavior, problem behavior, always happen when preferred activity interrupted, then we're going to work on transitioning, right? That's what is triggering the behavior. If problem behavior always happen when you told no, then we're going to work on accepting no. If the problem behavior happens when he wants something that he can have, then we're going to work on demanding, requesting, right? Like this, okay? So try to identify behavior, and if you cannot, then reach out to me. I can help you to look at the data, help you to identify the function of the behavior so we can give a proper intervention for the child, right? If it's a behavior that he wants the attention, but we just keep ignoring him, so we can probably teach him to request the attention that he wants, right? So again, that's intervention. And here's a graphing data sheets that we can use after we summarize the data. And because that will simply give you a visuals to see the trends of the behavior. Is it trending up? Is it trending down, right? Is it going up? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Or is it flat? It's not doing anything. So that shows that the effectiveness of the intervention. Is my treatment doing anything to the child? Am I eliminating behaviors? Is that working, right? So we use that graphing sheets. It's going to give you a visual easily. Okay. And that's the last one, the section notes. I think that's too small. I'm going to present it the other way. Okay. Let's see. That will work. Oops, sorry. All right. Okay. All right. So what I want you to do when you write your note, make sure that you write 2 or 3 data in the first box. So write something like student work on requesting with 1 word. He still depends on verbal modeling to make requests. He scored 30% plus means independently. So he scored 30% independently, 70% P means prompt in mending. He also worked on discriminating yes or no, and he scored 0% in answering yes and 0% in answering no. He worked on song play. He could fill in words for wheels on the bus. 90% of the time, he enjoyed singing, but he did not imitate movement or finger dance. So writing something like that serves 2 purposes. 1, health department come to audit our session note every year. So for all this reason, we have to show data for ABA because data is ABA is data driven. So we have to do that in our notes. Second, just for your own references. When you talk to the parent, right, you want to give them some data, you want to summarize your session with them. So that will help you to communicate with the parents and give them a clear picture of how their kids perform in your session. So yeah, and we come to the end of the training. Does anyone have any questions? It's our Q&A. Feel free to ask any questions. Anyone?
Hi, hi, Ms. Zhao.
Hi. Yep.
I have a question. It was a great presentation. Thank you so much for your time. And I have a question that I have a client who is 1.5 years old, and every time I don't know what to do with him because he's not diagnosed as autism yet, and he's functioning very well from my side because he's doing everything very well, like on his age level. So I don't know why he got that services, but I want to do something to help him, to support him and his mom, because his mom is very nervous about his child, her child. He thought her child is delayed in many areas, but from my side, I say, okay, he's fine. He's doing everything, except for he doesn't talk. So I want to know what can I do for him for everyday session, not every day, twice a week.
Okay. Have you reviewed his MDE? Have you reviewed his evaluation reports?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and how long have you been working with the client?
Just started.
Oh, you just started. Okay. All right. So look at his reports, right? See, look at his skills and see what are his deficits. When he conduct the evaluation, did he not making eye contacts, right? Is he not responding to his name? Can he follow directions well? Does he have at least 50 receptive vocabularies, right? At this age, they should have at least 50 receptive vocabularies, meaning that they know words from each category: clothing items, body parts, animals, locations, right? All these. At this age, kids should know a lot of them.
18 months.
Yeah, and is he making requests? He has no words at all?
He not consistent. He requests said, give me, not consistently. Animals, locations that we said, okay. 50 words, right? At least.
Yeah. Right. And they should also have at least 25 expressive words at this age. If he's 2-year-old, I'm assuming that he's a little bit older than 2 years old, but everyone within that range should have at least 25 expressive vocabularies, right? They should be able to call their parents. They should able to request what they want, right? If I want ball, I say ball. If I want car, I say car. If I want to eat snack, I say, bread, chips. They should be able to say those, right? That's requesting. Can he answer questions, right? Can he answer questions? Where's your mommy? Right? Where are your shoes? Can he say, oh, it's here, right? He has to be able to interact with you. That's a social skill. That's a language component too. That's communication. He's answering questions. A lot, play skills, right? You say that he has good play skills?
Yes. He likes to play with certain toys.
Toys.
Yeah, balls, cars. Yeah, something like that. And he's 22 months old.
22 months, okay. All right. So if he doesn't have a diagnosis of autism and he doesn't really have the deficits in communication, social skills, and having that repetitive restricted behaviors, then is like he's probably a typical child with developmental delay. So work on the goals from the IFSP, right? It's still the same thing, play skill, right? Reciprocal play. Is he interacting back and forth? Right? Is he reading books with me? Is he singing songs with me? Is he imitating the action? That's very important. Motor imitation. If a kid does not imitate actions, right? If I do like, oh, cheers, do this, and he's not gonna drink, it's very hard for him to imitate words. That's why he's not talking. Because he's not imitating social imitation, remember? He's not paying attention to me to imitate my actions. So that's gonna, hold his legs in learning, right? Okay. All right. I hope I answer your question. Anyone else? I see Gloria.
Yes. Hi, I have a question, just very generally. Actually, so I've been to see it, and I am actually interested in becoming like an evaluator, or like what you're doing, basically, being able to evaluate the child. How did you, I guess I just curious, how did you get started as an evaluator, or what did you have to do to be an evaluator who evaluates kids with special need?
Well, actually, an agency reached out to me. That's how I started. But you have to have the knowledge of using the assessment tools like the DAISY, the health checklist, and you have to understand the New York State Health Department guidelines, the Table 2, Table 3. So those are some tools that you have to be able to use, and also your experience, right? You understanding the developmental milestones of the child. And when we want to identify red flags, like, how do I know if that kid has autism, right? So, it comes across like experience and knowledge about the developmental milestones. Wait, hold on. I want everyone to scan the QR code to do the survey to give me a feedback, and also enter your email address there so I can email you all the data sheets that I present today. All right, I want to check the chat box to see if anyone have questions. Okay. See you. Okay.
And then I have a question. So you said that the next session will be assessment, right? So are you going to teach us how to do all those, like the data sheets, how to use the help checklist, those kind of things? I use the DAISY tool a lot, but I don't really use the help checklist and some other assessment tools. So I'm wondering if you can share those knowledge with us.
Sure, of course. So yeah. So I will go over a few with you. So DAISY, help checklist. Also, I want to touch base a little bit ABLES to give you idea like what should I teach, right? Because we talk about developmental milestones, but we also talk about those prerequisite skill, right? A kid cannot walk and explore everything before he learned to claw, right? So we have to talk about what he can do already before we build those more abstract skills for him. So yes, I will talk about assessment, how to select goals, and probably some strategies.
Okay, that's
teaching.
great. Okay,
thank you. So Cindy has a question. When are you collecting data for a program, answering yes or no question? Will you ask the question for 5 times? I will actually even baseline the skill of that student to see if he's ready for that question. Because answering yes or no can be very difficult to teach. Because now you're helping the student to discriminate yes and no, and they are very abstract. So I will start from the no, right? I don't want something, and reinforce that skill of turning half or no, something that I don't want. How many times? 5 times, 10 times? I will say that if you see the kid is showing problem behavior or like really confused about the question, take a step back. Do not continue to push and asking that question. You can do 5 trial in your session, but like separate them, right? Maybe in the morning, the first half an hour, you ask him 2 times. And then maybe later on, you can ask the other 2 times to see if he can comprehend or discriminate yes or no. So you can separate those trainings. Okay. All right. All right. Does anyone else have questions? No? Okay. All right. I make it on time. Thank you everyone for attending and participating. Yes, I will send out the recorded meetings. And for those who work in Aspiring Munchkins, feel free to go to the provider soft system and go to the library because there are so many helpful resources that you can use. And if you have any questions, reach out to me and I can help you sometimes to, come to your sessions virtually or, provide you trainings. Okay. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. Good night. Okay, good night.